This video is brought to you by candidatetalent.com. My name is Fran Cousins and I'm a business psychologist with specialist expertise in designing psychometric tests for graduate and early career recruitments. This video is a short introduction to psychometric tests, what they are, why and when they're used, how they're typically scored, and how to approach the test to maximise your chances of success. This video will help you to be well informed when taking psychometric tests and bust some myths as well about what does and doesn't improve your performance on them. So what are psychometric tests? Psychometric tests are a scientific method of measuring people's cognitive abilities, attributes, behavioural styles, and so on. They have been designed and validated, which means that we've checked that they work and measure what they're supposed to, so that they are scored identically no matter who scores the test. In other words, there are preset scores for every question. Psychometric tests can come in lots of shapes and sizes. Most common are written tests, which you take online, but increasingly you might come across video-based tests or even game-based tests that feel like you're playing a game on an app on your phone. Fundamentally, the algorithms that sit underneath any of these tests, so what they're actually measuring, doesn't change. It's just how fun and engaging they are for you as a candidate when you take them. In recruitment settings, psychometric tests are designed to measure candidates' suitability for a role based on the required personality characteristics and aptitude or cognitive ability for that role. They identify the extent to which you match what they're looking for in the role. Employers use the information collected from psychometric tests to understand things about the candidate that are difficult to get to in other ways. For example, you can imagine that taking a numerical test is a much more effective way of seeing how you work with numerical reasoning compared to talking about it at an interview. So when are psychometric tests used? Typically, psychometric tests are used early on in the selection process for roles. This is for a number of reasons. They can be taken remotely by candidates, which is convenient for you as it means that you can take them anywhere and at any time without having to travel to a specific place. You might have to travel later on in the selection process for interviews and assessment centres, and we'll come back to this later. This is also more cost and time effective for employers because it means that they don't have to arrange for lots of candidates to go to one place to take a test. These psychometric tests are usually automatically scored, which makes it quick for you to receive your test results, although that might be slightly different if you're taking it at a physical test centre. And finally, psychometrics provide an initial sift out of people who are fundamentally not a good fit for the organisation, the job, or the roles on offer. This is especially helpful when there are lots of candidates for relatively few jobs, as it can cut down the number of people in the pipeline. Employers can then look more closely at specific skills and traits that are important to them later on in the selection process, using more personalised or in-depth selection methods. However, even though these tests are taken remotely, do not be tempted to get someone else to take one for you, even if you think they're likely to score better than you are. This is a really bad idea for lots of reasons. Firstly, most employers will complete a verification test at later stages of the selection process, for example when you're at the final stage assessment centre, and you'll have to take a shortened equivalent version of the first assessment. This is designed specifically to check that you were the person who took the test in the first place. If you score significantly worse than your original test score, you're going to have to retake the full test and potentially you'll be removed from the selection process, as this is a strong indication of cheating. Next, there's no guarantee that the person taking the test will actually do better than you would have, and this is specifically true for personality tests and situational judgment tests as well. A real concern here is people who charge for these sorts of services, as you have no control over how seriously they're taking your future career, and there's no guarantee of them actually passing. Lastly, if you don't pass the tests, the likelihood is that you're not going to perform well in the job or the role that's on offer, and you might not even enjoy it. So it's not beneficial to you to get someone else to take the test for you, as often these tests can help you to avoid spending lots of time completing a lengthy assessment process for a role you're fundamentally not suited to anyway. So let's talk about how ability tests are scored and the best approach to taking these tests. In this section, I'm going to talk specifically about ability tests, so the following isn't true for situational judgment tests or personality tests. In ability tests, you will typically be given points for every question that you answer correctly, so the tests are positively marked. In other words, you won't lose marks if you get an answer wrong. For this reason, if you get stuck on a question, it's best to guess. And these tests are typically multiple choice, so you will usually have at least a 1 in 5 chance of getting the answer right, if not better. As a general rule, you should aim to answer each question in under 90 seconds, but check the total amount of time for the test and the number of questions, as this will tell you roughly how long you should be spending on each question. So you want to divide the total test time in minutes by the number of questions you have to answer. Keep a note of any questions you have guessed on, and if you have time at the end of the test, go back and try them again. This is a much better strategy for scoring well than spending a long time on every question at the start of the test, as you'll likely run out of time and not even be able to attempt or guess the last few questions. It's beneficial to take some practice tests to familiarise yourself with the format of questions asked and the types of scenarios that you will need to tackle. You can find lots of free practice tests at candidatetalent.com. Getting familiar with practice tests means that you can spend more time and effort in the real test on understanding and answering the questions well, as you know what to expect. However, because these are tests of aptitude, which means your potential to use and apply specific information, and they are not tests of a specific learned skill, the evidence tells us that getting coaching on how to answer specific question types or specific skills-based training won't improve your scores. So we suggest you save your money and focus on getting used to the type of tests you can expect to take instead. Once you have completed your test, your results will be compared to a norm group. This is a large group of people who are similar to you in relevant ways. So for example, it'll be a population of graduates. Your scores will be translated into a percentile, which is a way of comparing how you have performed compared to other people in your group. Percentiles tell us what percentage of the population you have scored better than. So for example, if you have scored at the 80th percentile, it means you have scored better than 80% of other graduates or people similar to you. It does not mean that you have scored 80% on the test. Different employers will set different pass marks, which is sometimes also known as a benchmark, for their selection system. Many employers will simply require candidates to perform at the 33rd percentile, i.e. better than a third of the rest of the population, to be able to progress onto the next stage. And this is just to remove the lowest scoring candidates from the selection process. However, other employers will be more stringent and set higher percentile pass marks, depending on factors such as the number of candidates they need to remove at that stage of the selection process and the requirements of the job that you're applying for. We hope that this has been a helpful introduction to what to expect from psychometric tests. Thanks for watching, and make sure you check out our other videos in the links below. You can find lots of full-length practice tests absolutely free at candidatetalent.com.